Hello everyone and welcome back. In today's video, we will learn how to create a responsive website using media queries. Let's say we have this web page. We've got a top bar, an image, and some text. And we have to convert this website into this. So it has a left section and an aside section. And when you open this on a mobile screen, this is how it looks. The top bar changes, our section fills the entire screen, and the aside fills the entire screen. So let's get started. Let's bring up our code editor. All right, so first we need to add this aside. So let's do that. Let's create a div, and inside the div we need these images. So let's create that. So image, it requires an src and alt. So this is the source. And let's say this is the alt text. Similarly, it requires a label as well. So let's add that. Let's make a copy of this. We need 3. So 1, 2, 3. Let's save it. Copy the second one. Update it. Let's copy this label. Let's paste it here. Similarly, for the third one, let's paste it here. And the last label. Let's paste this one over here. Let's save it. Coming back to our browser. And as you can see, we've got these images and labels. So now what we want to do is we want to move section and these images next to each other. So let's try that. So to move something next to each other, we can use inline block. So section, let's say display inline block. So if you look here, the width looks like it's 30%. So let's say width 70%. Let's give it a margin right, say 16 pixels. It's a little more, let's say 24 pixels. Let's save it. Similarly, for aside, let's add some properties. So display inline block width, let's say 25%. Let's save it. Coming back here, and as you can see, both these elements are next to each other. It's just that the styling is a bit off. So first, let's reduce this image size. Let's add some classes to these divisions. Let's say place wrapper. Let's copy this class, paste it here and here. Let's save it. Let's select this division. Places wrapper, let's give it 100% width. So the 100% width of this would be the total width available in the aside element, which is 25% of the entire width. Similarly, let's save it. Let's bring this up here. All right. Now let's select these images. So place wrapper. Inside the wrapper, we have the image element. Let's give it 100% width. So basically, we are giving the total width available inside the div. Let's save it. And as you can see, the images have gotten smaller. All right. So coming back here, and as you can see, these elements aren't aligned at the top. So when you're working with display inline block, you get access to another property, vertical align. So let's try that, and we can give it a value top. Let's save it. And as you can see, our aside element is now on the top. So now we need to give it a background color white. So let's give it this card-like shape. So coming back here, First, let's add it for aside. So background color, white, let's save it. Let's give it some padding, say 16 pixels. Let's give it a box sizing, say border box, because I don't want the width to increase. Let's give it a border radius. Let's say 8 pixels. Let's give it some shadow, so we can use box shadow. So 0, 2 pixels for the vertical shadow and 5 pixels spread or blur, and then hash, let's say AAA. Let's save it. Okay, that looks cool. Also, after all these div items, we've got this separator. So what we can do is we can use a border bottom for the place wrapper. So let's say border bottom, 1 pixels, solid and AAA. Let's save it. Okay, so we've got our border. It's just that it's right next to the image, so it's not visible. So let's give it a margin bottom. So if I give margin bottom, say 16 pixels, so it creates this space and our border is visible. Also, if you notice, the border is available for the last item as well, and we don't want that. So let's select the last item. So place wrapper, last of type. Let's say border bottom 0. So we are just hiding the border. And let's remove this margin bottom as well. Let's save it. And as you can see, these properties are gone for the last item. Okay, so it looks pretty much same, just that the font size looks a bit small. So let's increase that. So for the labels, we have used paragraph tags. So place wrapper, paragraph, let's say font size 18 pixels. Okay, that looks much better. All right, so moving on to the section part, let's give it a background color. Let's say background color white. Let's give it a border radius 8 pixels. Let's save it. Let's give it a box shadow. So again, let's give it the same value. So 0, 2 pixels, 5 pixels blur, and hash AAA. Let's save it. All right, so it looks pretty much the same. Now let's make it mobile responsive. So let's just open this in another tab, inspect, and change it to the mobile version. So as you can see, our section is not taking the entire width. So let's give it the entire width. Let's bring it here. Okay, so to define special styles for mobile screens, we could use media queries. So @media screen, and let's give it a max width. Let's say 768 pixels. All right, so now what we want is to give full width to section. So right now it's a display inline block. So let's change it to block, and let's increase the width, say 100%. Let's save it. It looks better, but it has a lot of padding on left and right. So let's see why is that. So over here in main, we've given padding of 2% and 8%. So top, bottom 2, left, right 8. So let's change it to 2% on all the sides for mobile screen. So we aren't updating the margin and text align, so we could simply remove these properties and update padding to 2%. Okay, it looks better. Also, the font size is a bit big, so let's reduce that. So coming back here. Now for the font size for heading, we've used this property, and for the paragraphs, we've used this property. So let's copy it and bring it down here. Let's paste it. So let's say font size 24 pixels for the heading and font size 18 pixels for the paragraph. We aren't changing any other property, so let's just remove these. Let's save it, and it looks pretty much the same. All right, so the section part is done. Moving on to the aside. All right, so let's select the aside element. Let's say display block. Let's give it a width of 100%. Let's save it. Coming down here. And as you can see, our block looks pretty much the same. All right, now moving on to the last part, which is the top bar. So in the top bar, the logo and menu item is center aligned. So let's do that. So the ID for top bar is top bar. So hash and top bar. Let's say text align center, because these are all span, or because these are all inline items. So we could simply use text align center. Coming here. Okay, so the menu items are center aligned, but not the logo. So let's check. So logo has a margin right. So let's remove that. So let's select logo. Let's change the margin right value, say 0 pixels. Let's save it. Also, we want the logo to be in one line. So let's change the display value. Let's say display block. Let's save it. All right, that looks much better. Let's add some styles for the menu items. So menu item, let's increase the font size first. So let's say font size 18 pixels. Let's give it a margin top, say 12 pixels. Okay, it's not working because these menu items are inline elements, and top bottom properties don't work on inline elements. So simply let's change it to display inline block. Let's save it. Also, if I inspect this element, there's a margin right for all these elements. So that's why these menu items aren't completely in the center. So what we need to do is remove margin from the last item. So coming back here, let's select the last item. So menu item, last of type. Let's say margin right and 0. Let's save it. And as you can see, it looks much better. And if we open the desktop version, so even the desktop version looks pretty cool. So that's how we use media queries to create responsive websites. So if you notice, media query isn't something magical. So the only thing media query does is it helps you create breakpoints. And after that, it's all styling. It's all up to you how you want to design layouts on different screens. That's all for today, guys. If there is something that you did not understand, feel free to drop a comment and we will discuss it. See you in the next video. Bye and take care.